Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to give my basic view, or the general objectivist view, on foreign policy and basically how should we interact with other countries, what is our ultimate foreign policy goal. I'm going to try to discuss more like stuff related to war and self-defense rather than trade today, because I've talked about trade before. I have a fairly open idea of what trade, idea that trade should be. We should be fairly open with other countries, no tariffs to an extent, or mostly, unless there's a country you're at war with and you set an embargo, stuff like that. But yeah, I could go into an explanation for that. We basically just want to have free trade with everyone because trade basically benefits us. But that's for another video. That's not what I'm trying to talk about in this video. So with foreign policy, the main goal of America should be, if there's a credible foreign threat, then we wipe them out by whatever means necessary, because that is the job of the American government. It's to protect our citizens from foreign invaders. And if its job is to actually protect American rights at all costs, then it has essentially its job is to take out enemies, take out people who are going to threaten American lives. This is very important. This is a key role of our military. This differs from a neocon sort of view, because the neocon view is essentially that we need to go into these other countries that aren't threats to us, or aren't threats right now, but they might be in the future, or they're hurting their citizens, or different things like that, and like promote democracy throughout the world. That's a very stupid goal, because it's basically taking Americans' money to promote the lives and safety of other people all around the world who they're never going to meet, never going to have any interactions with, and it has really no effect on them. There's no reason why your money should be spent on other people, or other people completely around the world, with no choice from yourself. And we're also sacrificing American lives for these people. It makes absolutely no sense. You're basically sacrificing American rights for foreign people, which is a complete reverse of the role of government. The role of government should be you protect American rights at all costs. So yeah, that's essentially why I think that the neocon view is completely fucked. I believe that's probably the worst possible view of foreign policy. But then you also have the more isolationist, the sort of libertarian or left-wing view, where you blame America for everything and basically don't get involved in any single conflict at all, even if it seems like it might be in our best interest to get involved. These are the people that are like, oh, we shouldn't have done anything after 9/11. We should have just sat home and done nothing. That's extremely sacrificial of America, and ultimately it's extremely damaging. These people, they decided to blame America for 9/11. They're like, oh, you provoked these people, so it's America's fault that 9/11 happened. No, it's the fault of the ideas in the Middle East. It's very, very anti-American to make that sort of assumption that it's basically America's fault that these people attacked us and took away our individual rights. To an extent, we have done very bad foreign policy in that area, and very like the sacrificial neocon sort of shit in the past. So there's a sense in which I'm sympathetic to that idea, because we have been way too involved there in the past, and people generally don't like it when other governments are involved. But you can't blame America for an attack on its people. That's absolutely absurd. You can't say that, oh, it's America's fault and America's responsible for 9/11. That's a very, very iffy proposition, and it's very nihilistic. It's basically saying these other countries are better than America, essentially. They're the moral ones in this situation. They're the ones that are looking out for their own interests, and they're the ones that we should feel sympathetic for them, not for America necessarily. And that's not a very good way to look at things. And ultimately, this leads to certain consequences that you don't want to get involved when it's actually in America's best interest to defend ourselves in such a situation. So I mean, like Iran, for example, Iran was probably the biggest funder of terrorism at the time and was largely responsible for different terrorist attacks. From my understanding of the situation. Now I'm a little skeptical of Iran. I'm not necessarily sure what we should attack, but I think Iran would have probably been the best country just to wipe out and get out. That would basically send a message throughout the Middle East that you don't fuck with America or you're done. And then, I mean, we just got to be strong. We just have to have a strong military force that will wipe out any sort of threats that come our way. That's absolutely key, because then these people will be afraid of us. We'll have a much more dominant. We'll be a much more dominant force, and they'll know that we will use this force if they fuck with us. If they fuck with us, they're getting fucked. I mean, that's essentially my view of foreign policy. You can't let people fuck with you. You can't let people take away your citizens' rights. And we do that so much. We just let other countries walk all over us. And it's absolutely terrible. Now, for the question of what about the rights of these other foreign citizens? That's not the responsibility of our government to protect. Our government's responsibility is to protect our own citizens' rights. These other citizens are the responsibility of these other governments. And if another government attacks us, they are implicitly sacrificing the rights of their citizens, because America's job is to protect our citizens' rights at all costs, the people within our border. And if you attack us, you are sacrificing the rights of your citizens. I mean, it's terrible, but the blood is entirely on your hands in this case. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say today about relating to foreign policy. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.